Hey, what's up, everybody? DFS Rico coming at you with my picks and insight for this MLB Draftkings 12 game slate on Friday, July 31st. We got a 12 gamer, pretty good slate. We got Coors Field on the slate, so it's going to be really interesting where a lot of this ownership is going. But yeah, before I get into it, if you could like, comment, subscribe, go over to my Patreon, sign up for $10 a month. I'm giving out um, extra, like, it's more so GPP content that I give out. I do another video for MLB over there. I do another video for NBA over there, and I'll do League of Legends here and there, just because I know a lot of people are still into that in my Discord at least. But I just more so do videos for GPPs. I won't really go into, like, the picks that I go over on this video, because I mean everyone's gonna kind of be on these picks. These are kind of more obvious picks, so I try to give you guys ideas and places where you can be different over on the Patreon to further benefit yourself, so you won't be following the chalk, maybe just finding spots where people will overlook. It's kind of usually what I lean towards over there. But if you're interested, I always tell people try it out after a couple days, 3 days usually. If you're not into it, I'll gladly refund you if it's not something you're interested in. Easy going, so I'm not gonna, if you're not into it, I'm not gonna tie you down for an entire month just because you signed up. So it's all right. But yeah, let's get to it. Uh, Early on, looking at this slate from top to bottom, you got the New York Yankees at 6.6 run implied total, which is the highest on the slate. Scrolling down, I mean, you see some decent ones. You got the Braves at 5.35. Don't have anything for the Rays or the Orioles yet. You got the Sox 4.72, which I am very interested in myself. And then you got the Indians and the Twins. No run implied total yet. Clevenger versus Dobnak. The Coors Field with the Padres and the Rockies, which will be really interesting. Nothing yet for the Cubs game, but I do think the Cubs come in with a decent run implied total. Then you got the Rangers. You got the Astros. Not yet in, but that one should be interesting. I do think the Astros will probably come somewhere around the A's, in my opinion, as far as run implied total. And then the A's are at 5.25, pretty decent. The Dodgers still not in there, but I think the Dodgers and the Astros come maybe a little higher than the A's, honestly, but should be really interesting where they come in. But let's get to it. And if any of you guys have been watching my videos, if you haven't noticed, I do use timestamps. So I usually separate my video by like Vegas odds, lineups, and then I do like pitchers and then bats if you want to find easier places to scroll through. I was recommended to do it by someone over here on my Patreon, and I've been doing it ever since, and I kind of like it. I feel like it's easier. If I was watching videos, it'd be easier for me to navigate to where I want to go. If I have to go find a certain spot, it's easier. But yeah, let's get to it. So we're going to start off with pitchers. I'm going to go off with two pitchers that I like. I'll mention a third one. Not really too much detail on them, but I will mention one. So first pitcher I want to talk about is Castillo. Luis Castillo came out and pitched really well first time out, 11 Ks versus Detroit, and he's facing the same team again. 1.50 ERA, 1.17 WHIP. Put up 29 fantasy points at 8K is just a steal in my opinion. He's going to be very high owned, but I will gladly own him with everybody else. 29.4% strikeout rate going to last season. His ground ball rate, his line drives, his fly balls are all very good. Very good versus both sides of the plate. Doesn't really struggle versus either side. And nobody on this Tigers team really scares me. I mean, they got they got 5 righties and then 3 switch hitters, which doesn't really worry me too much. You look at a lot of these guys, ISOs and WOBAs, it's not really any good. Not much hard hit rate, so I'm not really worried about any of these guys going far, going long, But I do like Castillo for sure. Castillo will be high owned though, just know that. Next guy I want to talk about is Lance Mccullers Jr. versus the Angels at 25% strikeout percentage. I do like him a little more now that I heard Trout's going to be out because of paternity leave or something like that. I think his wife had his baby, or their baby. So yeah, had the baby. So he's going to be out, which only increases my interest even more in Mccullers at 9K on Draftkings. Facing a ton of righties. They only have a couple lefties in this lineup, and honestly, other than Ohtani, I'm not really afraid of anybody else in this lineup. And Rendon obviously as a righty, but for lefties, none of the lefties really worry me. But Rendon is the only other one that I would really worry about. But 25% strikeout rate. His numbers doesn't have that many dating back to last season, but if you bump his numbers back to 2018 season, since he missed last season with injuries, he had a 27% strikeout rate, Very good ground balls, line drives. You look at his ISO and his WOBA, very good versus both sides of the plate. His strikeout rate was actually 9% higher versus lefties, which is interesting. And it's not like he faced a few batters. He faced 255 batters on the left, 273 on the right, and there was a 9% difference. So looks like he does even better versus lefties. So maybe not too much to worry about versus these lefties. So he's the guy I'm plugging in right there. The third guy I want to talk about was mainly just Blake Snell. I know he's at 10.8K. If you could predict how many innings he's going to pick, he is the best pitcher on the slate, in my opinion, going against Baltimore. But I'm not too interested in him just due to the fact that I don't know how many innings he's gonna play. So that's what worries me the most with him, is how many innings he's going to end up playing, because he only pitched 2 innings last time. He did get 5 Ks, but I'm not sure exactly how many innings he plays. And now, getting over to the bats. Let's go over to the bats. We've got the White Sox. This is the first team I'm going to talk about. Just not too heavily priced, and they are in a really good matchup versus Bubik, which doesn't really have any numbers, but these guys are very good versus righties. This is a good lineup. I mean, you got Anderson, Moncada up top, Abreu, Encarnacion. They got a bunch of righties, I get it. But, I mean, guys like Abreu just are very good versus righties. .414 WOBA, .330 ISO, .380 WOBA for Encarnacion. Their hard hit rate's very good. Guys like Moncada are very good. They just have a really good lineup at the top of this lineup. I'm very interested in these guys tonight. Their prices aren't too bad on Draftkings. If I'm playing any of them, I probably prefer Moncada over any of them, just because he is a switch hitter and he's been playing fairly well this season. I mean, he's been getting on base at least every game this season. So he's probably the main guy I would start my lineups with if I am going to be playing anybody from this team. Bouncing over to the next team that I want to talk about is, well, the 2 teams I want to talk about in this game, which is Colorado and San Diego. We got 2 teams in this game. They did price them up. I mean, you got Tatis at 6K, Blackman, Story, Arenado, Machado. You got practically the 5 best hitters in this game, all priced over 5K, so you aren't going to be getting anyone at a discount. Even some of the guys below them are just priced up, which makes sense. I mean, they're playing in Coors Field. Everybody knows what they can do here. So it should be good. I think Colorado has a better matchup with the lefties, with Dahl, Blackman, Murphy, a lot of those guys, but you can't count out Story and Arenado. You are going to have to find spots to pay down, which will make it hard. Maybe paying down for another pitcher that you like, or just some cheap bats. You're going to have to find ways to be different if you're going to be willing to pay up for these guys, but we know the upside that they can have at home. With Blackman is really good at home. His hard hit rate is solid. His contact is solid. You go to guys like Murphy, 87.9% contact. Just a solid team. Like I said, it's just a ballpark that gives these guys the bump. And the same thing with the other side, although they are in a tougher matchup versus Gray. The thing that worries me is like their best hitters are all righties. Tatis, Machado, and Pham. So they will go a little lower owned than Colorado, which can be more like a sneaky play, but just playing in Coors Field just gives everybody a bump, so you always see these guys priced up. And Gray does do a little better with righties. Not amazingly better, but he does do better. So it's not something you want to pick on him. I would prefer the Colorado side in this game. Obviously, if I'm playing anybody in this game, I would be starting my builds with Blackman, like I mentioned. Blackman or Dahl? Dahl at 4.8K if you want to do the savings. Blackman if you can afford to pay up is the way I would go. And then the last team I'm going to talk about are the Yankees, coming in at 6.60 run implied total. So they will have a lot of ownership. Everybody knows that. They are going against Boston, a not so good pitcher in that game. Weber, nothing to be afraid of. The only thing that worries me as well with them is they don't have a bunch of righties. He struggles mightily versus lefties, so if you can play as many of these lefties, I would recommend it. You got Hicks and Gardner. Gardner's really good versus righties. .271 ISO, .361 WOBA. His hard hit rate is solid. His contact rate is solid. And then you got LeMahieu up top, which I really, really like. Up top, in my opinion, he's a little underpriced at 4.1. I like him and Gardner fairly decent amount. I know these guys are getting pricey. I'm recommending some pricey stacks, but that's just how I feel today. I feel like a lot of the pricier stacks are going to be the way to go. You're going to have to just find filler spots to find some cheap bats to go to. I mean, you got Brantley over there in Houston. You got some pitchers. You pick some lefties versus righties, or some righties versus lefties that you like, and some fairly decent matchups. But you're not going to get a discount on San Diego or Colorado. You're not going to get a discount on the Yankees. So you're just going to have to find spots to be cheaper to fill your lineup in. But I'd rather just find ways to pay up for the really good bats and good spots, and then just fill my lineup up with some cheap guys that will probably be batting at the top of the rotation that when lineups come out. But that's just me. Like I said, I do like the Yankees. Doesn't mean don't play Stan. I mean, you see Stan's numbers versus even righties. 0.283 ISO, 0.438 WOBA. His hard hit rate is 42.9. He's going to hit the ball far if he gets contact with it, so that's something I really want to see. Just good. I mean, you saw them. They played decently well today. I mean, things can happen though, in baseball. You could play the Yankees at 6.6 run implied total, and they can go out there and give you 2 runs. But that's up to you. I usually just follow kind of the chalk a little bit on smaller GPPs and cash, and just kind of differentiate myself in different spots. But that's just me. Hopefully I gave you guys enough info to get started at least for this slate. If you can like, comment, subscribe, I really do appreciate it, and use them timestamps. Let me know what you think. Thank you.